And now I'm sure you're all fired up for the next segment because it might sound like a crystal ball question. What the future of data marketing? The sector has taken some serious hits over the past few months. So data marketing is dead. Long live data marketing. To dive in, we're joined by three experts on this matter. Laure Debos, your Executive Vice President at Epsilon. Epsilon being one of the greatest agency or actually institution or, part of Publicis right now, and your focus is definitely data. Nicolas, Rieul, you're President of IAB France. Great to have you on set. We'll also be joined live from Berlin by Heer, the founder and CEO of Zeotap. Hi, Daniel.
Hello, everyone. Nice to be here.
So, ladies and gentlemen, of course, we all have been, driving down this road of regulation, and data is especially targeted by a lot of different pieces of regulation. So GDPR and of cookies, name them. Would you say that regulation is the usual suspect when it comes to explaining the drop of data marketing? Laure.
Yes, of course, regulation is a challenge, definitely. But I think it's a challenge unavoidable, if I can say, and we have to accept it because regulation is, in fact, a focus on consent. Mm-hmm. Even if we hadn't these regulation challenges, we would take into account, we would need to take into account the way people accept us to collect, to gather their data. So we definitely need to work with the regulator on how to make this consent clear, acceptable, and how to drive benefits to the customers based on the way we are collecting and gathering data.
Moving on to Berlin, Daniel, with you, what's your take on regulation?
Yeah, we do not think that regulation is really killing data-driven marketing, but rather that it applies a framework and clear rules and guidance to data-driven marketing around how that can exist going forward. We also do not see really a drop in data-driven marketing in Europe where GDPR applies, but rather a consolidation. So some players like Oracle Data Cloud have left Europe. Some others need to get their house in order. For us, we're really doubling down on Europe. We're currently hiring 25 go-to-market or sales or BD-related roles across France, UK, Germany, Italy, Spain. So for us, GDPR actually harmonized Europe. And frankly, as a German company, the regulation we had in Germany before GDPR was even stricter. So it actually, for us, it opened up Europe and made it more harmonized and gave it a set of rules, actually.
Great, actually, a perspective on this. Stand by. I'm just handing the mic over to you, Nicolas. Is actually regulation opening new business opportunities?
For European companies, it can be definitely an advantage, even if the compliancy is when you spend time and resources on compliancy, that you're not spending time on innovation, which can be a problem, of course. But the idea of GDPR is it's a project of the European Commission, basically, to make a digital single market. So what we want is an important territory, the first region in terms of economy in the world, the European Union. If you make the addition of all the country, it's an amazing market with the same legislation. So basically, you can scale your company easily. And it's also probably a protectionism regulation too, because you need a reciprocity. So basically, if we had GDPR 20 years ago, Google and Facebook will not be so powerful in the European Union. We can see what's happened in China, where it's a big protectionism in terms of internet. It's a closed internet, and they have seen Alibaba, WeChat. They have their own Amazon, their own Google. So the positive effect of GDPR are going to be seen probably in the next 10 years. For the moment, it's more, I'll say, it's more complicated for a company because they have to spend a lot of money in their compliancy, and obviously there is some wave in the market as well. But it's an opportunity.
Now, of course, when compliance is actually pronounced on the set, we can't not avoid the other buzzword in the business, which is definitely trust. But I mean, it's way more than a buzzword, it's key. Because you know that users and citizens overall don't trust media and social media anymore. So it's a basic math here. I mean, no users, no data, and no data, no business, no data marketing. So how can you guys cope with it, Laure?
I think we need to be careful not to underestimate the power of media brands, because for some of them, they made a great job about creating a strong relationship with their customers, their own customers, which are the people where we are collecting and gathering data. So those media brands are able now to take advantage from their first party, and they are challenged again by regulation, but this trust is coming through the way they are using data again to drive benefits to their customers. And we are trying to support these media brands and also social media brands when it happens to make the most then of those data being relevant to the customers, which is a key word also when it comes to trust.
Totally. Nicolas.
Yeah, but trust is, at IAB, what we have done, so IAB, it's a trade organization, basically, with all the different players of the digital market, either media agency, ad tech companies, advertiser, or publisher. And ad tech is a very complex ecosystem, very technical, and regulation was a challenge because when you're very far in the value chain, you have to prove your compliancy. And you have to give trust back to the user, as you say. So basically what we have created in a very short period of time is called the Transparency and Consent Framework, which is basically a framework, a standard for all the players to give transparency to user. What data are we collecting, for whom, and for which purpose, with a very, very deep level of granularity in terms of player purpose you can select. That was a very important challenge from the industry. It's still one, because a lot of publishers have to, we launched the TCF, so Transparency and Consent Framework V1. The V2 have been implemented this summer. Still a lot of resources based on compliancy, but at the end we are doing this to give back trust to the user and choice as well. Then when we have this, let's say, clean collection, clean data, we can go back to our work and innovation in terms of data marketing.
No?
Yeah, just a word about brands, because we are talking about the users. I think the trust to data have been proved during the lockdown. I think a lot of brands took advantage from the data they had and to maintain and to strengthen the relationship they have with their customers during the lockdown. So we need to there is a need of trust between the different players in the market, but also with the users, of course, which is key.
Let's go back to Berlin for a follow-up with you, Daniel. Is transparency the basis of trust?
Absolutely, that's one perspective of it. Secondly, it's also a fair value exchange. So, for example, when I think about publishers going forward, which also would, I think, address some other questions, we as users, as customers, cannot expect the publisher to lose 50% of their revenue with a dying cookie, but continue to provide us, the users, with great content, right? So how can we expect the publisher to give us great content if we're not willing to, let's say, sign in or provide data as a value exchange? And I think if the publisher, through a clear consent and transparent consent wording, makes that value exchange clear, it's really up to us consumers to read. I mean, if we don't read the terms, that's our problem, right? That we cannot complain about transparency, lack of trust. So it's really this sort of joint value exchange.
Now let's play the Mr. Clean of data, if you may, for a quick second. Sometimes data can be incorrect, can be incomplete, irrelevant, and so on. So how can we remove or modify those flags? What's the secret recipe for data cleansing? Laure, of course.
Why not? It's probably a mix, and the right mix between algorithm, data science, and human science. I mean, the knowledge is key in making this data cleansing, in ensuring we have the right data quality. Human science, because we have to know the figures and where they come from, how we are using it to make sure we have the quality of data, but also a question of processes. We are working a lot at Epsilon on putting the right governance, making the right processes between the different parts of the organization to make sure we are monitoring the data quality all along the value chain in the company. And I think this is key for data cleansing.
Let's go back to Berlin for a quick second, because Daniel, I want to make an example of Zeotap to this regard. You've launched this very summer ID Plus, and you define it as a universal marketing identity solution. Can you dive in, and does it help when it comes to cleansing data?
If you define data as user identification, yes. The solution ID Plus really centers around providing the ecosystem, so advertisers, marketers, and publishers, with a universal persistent ID post the death of the cookie, right? When Google Chrome will sort of turn off or turn down the cookie in 16 to 18 months. If there's no ID that replaces the cookie, advertisers will lose the ability to address customers one-on-one on publishers. And publishers, as I said before, would lose 50% of their revenue, because advertisers just don't want to go back to the world of contextual targeting. That's like going back to the Stone Age. So ID Plus is really a solution which asks the user to give consent on the publisher level, but also to sign in and log in. And you may see a lot of publishers across the web. You see it with Wall Street Journal, you see it with TechCrunch and many others, really asking users to sign in and perform this value exchange I mentioned before, where in exchange for logging in and providing consent for leveraging data, then users will get or sort of remain to get great content. Mm-hmm. And Zeotap plays a part in this value exchange by taking the authentication from the user and matching it with our brand customers, so that we can help brand customers remain one-on-one addressability going forward. If you look at this as sort of data persistency or data quality, yes, I would agree with you.
Consenting on content, if I've heard you loud and clear. So this is definitely your way to make a difference on what you're calling the global customer intelligence market.
Sorry, what was the question?
Is ID Plus, I mean, the way you're actually going to make a difference on what is called nowadays the global customers intelligent market?
It's a component of it. Zeotap has basically cobbled together a sort of a next-gen customer intelligence platform where we try to enable brands end-to-end to enhance intelligence on their first-party customers. So it's a CDP integrated with an identity graph, integrated with ID Plus and a data asset, all based on sort of GDPR compliancy.
So we literally change the question from data cleansing, my bad, to this customer intelligent market. Nicolas and Laure, what other solution can you think of that actually going to help us achieve better data, foster better contextualization of those data, again, just for the sake of the customers?
Yeah, we were talking about opportunity. I think what Zeotap is offering is one of the future of identity online. Identity is key because if, as Daniel say, advertisers want measurement, they want performance, they don't want to do something what we have done in the past, which is spray and pray. So just putting advertising everywhere without any capping and hoping that it's going to work. That's could reinforce as well the position of the duopoly between a big tech player as well. And I think Daniel say also something very important about how publishers need revenue. 50% of their revenue today come from smart ad, from targeting advertising. And I don't know if you have seen the internet today, but it's more and more closed. Less and less you have free ads, free content. No, you have free ads, sorry. Ads are free.
Oh yeah.
But the content is less and less free, and that's an issue, especially at the moment where you can have fake news and people don't trust in media. That's where we need quality content. And if there is only basically rich people who can pay to have a subscription model and have quality news, we also have a problem in terms of democracy as well. It's a topic here. So it's not only a tech company and ID and graph. It's also about whole economic model of information and access to the citizen of information.
And of course, content consumption definitely depends on the versatility of what's going on, of the news, basically. We're in a context right now where an election is upcoming in less than 30 days. Do you expect more and more users or content consumers being a little looking down those type of medias for the next 30 days to come? So how would you react in terms of counseling your clients to put more ads on a very different segment of the value chain? Would you tell them to, yes, actually invest massively on Facebook right now to be, accurate? Or would you better tell them to invest on other segment of the media business? Because people, again, don't trust Facebook anymore. Laure, I know.
I'm sorry.
You're my favorite designated victim.
It's easy. I'm not representing the media agency here, so
I think I'm the right
giving
one
you
to answer this question.
The hot potato is for you.
First of all, that's a hard question. and precisely our job is to make the right recommendation and put all our science to make the right recommendation. Of course, the recommendation is a mix, and again, finding out the right mix between investing on social networks, because people are behind those social networks, so it's a way to address them, and find out some other solution to complement to reach them on all the other touch points where the people are now, because we know that audiences are fragmented, and it's not just a word. I mean, they have more than 200 touch points where they are. The effectiveness is still there. The audience is splitted into all those touch points. So we need to find the right way to address them massively and quickly, in fact. So I think a part of the solution is what Daniel mentioned, is ID management. Because ID management, as you said also, is a way to measure, it's a way to target, it's a way to, monitor the capping, and it's also a way to detect fraud, in fact. So we definitely need to work on that, and to work with our partners and on our side to find an universal ID which will be scalable, addressable, persistent, and cross-device. And this is the right way we need to work on with advertisers on the following years, not only in the following weeks, but also for the future. Yeah.
So, Daniel, also I want to have your perspective on this. You don't necessarily need right now to make a difference between platforms to advise your clients on better data fostering or better ways to actually put their data into action. Would you make a difference between platforms in the end?
Could you clarify the question?
Again, concerning the fact that people are more and more defying Facebook or tend not to trust Facebook anymore for a lot of different reasons. We're definitely at an election time. So would you definitely advise your clients right now to go on with some ads on Facebook especially, or would you then advise them to probably reconsider their portfolio and just put, more money on different various segments of the value chain? Do you think that users now have this power, definitely the power of, shutting off budgets for different social media segments?
I see. So first of all, we would advise them to ask their agency, for example, Publicis.
There you go. The hot potato goes again.
Because those guys are really the experts. We're looking at this question from a very different perspective. We're really agnostic to any platform. We try to make identity and data agnostic and obviously based on consent across the open ecosystem, but also including the walled gardens. We also activate on Google, on Snapchat, on Facebook, on Twitter, all those closed ecosystems. We also work with and we generate revenue there. So I'm a bit biased, honestly, in my answer. If I had to give an answer, I would recommend to be skeptical, but still continue to advertise on these large platforms, the social networks, because you do find users there, right? But you should challenge, you as a customer should challenge Google, Facebook, Instagram, and those platforms about, how they filter good and bad content.
Something which is important. If you want to switch any budget, you need an alternative. You need to have something which is with an important reach, the same reach as a platform you were talking about, and that's what the programmatic, what we call real-time bidding, is offering, an equivalent reach, and the IAB is working on the standard of real-time bidding here, so it's offering the possibility to advertisers to have the same reach, and then you have to tick some box to get the same performance as well. Identity is key, cross-device identity. Is it the same user on your phone and then on your computer? And that's what a platform and a walled garden is offering. So that's typically what Zeotap can offer, or Epsilon as well, to have this graph and this ID. So it's so what the ad tech in data marketing is doing is trying to create an alternative on the open internet. The open internet is the news you are consulting, the media you were talking about. So we are concentrating on trying to create alternative and not being stopped by making this. We were talking about regulation just before as a usual suspect for cookies, but it's not the only usual suspect today. The most of the threats is coming from Chrome, from a browser. Daniel talked about it. In 2 years, the end of the third-party cookie. Either Apple as well. So they are coming from big tech player who can today be the new regulator when it's come to privacy. And so working on the future of ID is key if we want to sustain this open internet in the future.
Well, I bet the big techs now rather have their own regulatory compliance than being imposed or impelled an external regulation framework. To put it in a nutshell, can data marketing recover from COVID times? Do you think the future can look bright at some point, Laure?
Yes, we need to think about data marketing as the fuel to marketing and to media, in fact. So I think when we think about the future of data marketing, we need to think about first the future of media investment, marketing investment, how to make better media investment and marketing investment is just even more important than it was before. That's why our role in media agency, in agencies, in fact, and also in data marketing agency is now more important than ever before. And I'm convinced that the right way to make better investment is accelerating in data, and put these data efforts at the heart of the company strategy, business strategy, making sure IT department, marketing department, promotion, price, and all the different parts of the organization are behind this goal of making data the fuel of the business for tomorrow. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Nicolas?
So if we look a bit in the future, even on the worst case scenario, let's say, tech will be very valuable. If you have less signals, it can be personal or not personal data or non-personal data. In any case, if you want to value a media on an inventory, you will need algorithm, deep learning to probabilistic approach as well. So if we see the future, in any case, we will need tech and algorithm to value this kind of media and to make the most of what we can, because the audience is here. COVID only strengthens the digital industry, the media, e-commerce as well, the omnicanality, And that's where we will not go back in terms of customer usage. So, and in any case, we will need this tech. So I'm quite optimistic. We are going to have a lot of change, and spending time and money on change could be obviously painful. You can be hurt sometimes. But at the end, that's a new area of opportunity, obviously, because we will have digital marketing and using data in 10 years. The question is who are going to be the winner of this new race. So it's an interesting time.
See, crystal ball questions, as I said in the introduction. Daniel, back to you in Berlin. Can we see the glass half full?
Actually, I totally agree with what my colleagues just said. So first of all, looking at the brand side, COVID totally accelerated the pace at which brands go through their digital transformation efforts. So McKinsey and Accenture, who often advise, those brands on digital transformation now have to really get stuff done, which basically means if you think about digital transformation from a data perspective, CDPs are bought to orchestrate cross-channel data capturing, cross-channel content capturing, and then sort of execution to improve the customer journey, right? So as more money is going into digital, more data is used. Secondly, if I think about myself as an end user, I love buying on Amazon, and I also love buying on Instagram, because the way the products are positioned and sold to me is so personalized, right? And here as a user, I see the clear value exchange. Yes, they use my data, but in exchange, I get clear value, right? I'm recommended products which I'm really into. And with 2 clicks, I can purchase them. So it's an awesome, seamless user experience. Now, is there a lot of impressions burned at me? No, there's not, right? It's a very clear call to action. And with very few impressions, I'm being offered products, right? What that means to the rest of the ecosystem is, and I think that more harmonizes incentives between agency groups and brands, is agency back in the day used to like to have big budgets to reach the user. Now, maybe because of COVID, budgets may be a bit reduced, but the efficiency per impression with data will increase, which will lead to more alignment between the brands and the agencies, because you achieve more with less, basically. And lastly, I think we also need to use the COVID time to make sure that in our education or in our sort of school and university systems, we educate our children and our students, not only about the downside of data. Usually when people speak about data, it's directly about observing the customer from a governmental perspective. That's not all data is about. There's so much value in data. The one use case I explained, if the train is more on time, because public transport companies can measure how people move in an anonymous way, that's good for everyone, right? So I think we should start also during COVID to change our educational system and make sure that data is also positioned from a value-adding perspective and not only from a negative perspective.
Let's educate ourselves to data. Thank you so much, Daniel. Thank you very much, Laure and Nicolas. You've been in the hot seat for the past 30 minutes. Thank you so much for answering those questions. You're released from duty also.